Electric Cafe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. In this video I'll be reviewing the Smiths' second album called Meat is Murder from 1985. So this is the third time Smiths have been featured on my channel. I did review Queen is Dead from 1986, their third album, and I gave that a 72 out of 100. I also reviewed Strange Ways Here We Come, which I gave a 70 out of 100. Both I think are very good albums for sure. And there's links above, probably in my head, if you'd like to see those reviews of those albums. When I think of the Smiths, I have an interesting relationship in history with the Smiths. Like it's there's a probably maybe on one hand how many bands like really kind of interest me to the point where it's kind of almost hard to explain, but you listen to them and you almost feel like there's no other music in the world. Like they're that um, entrancing or that engulfing or that amazing in some ways and very unique. Like when I think of Autech is like that with electronic music, like they're just, so different that it's just like that's kind of like in some ways, like the pinnacle of abstract electronic music. And then when I hear like Morrissey and the Smiths, like especially that period up to the first couple of Morrissey albums, pretty much from 82 to 92 after Your Arsenal, like that period of the Smiths, like when I hear those songs, I could listen to the Smiths for like an hour long and not even think twice. And I think if there was any band that I kind of grew up with, like around that was playing around my house was the Smiths and Morrissey. And it was because of my like again I have three older siblings and if you walked around my house, two of those three rooms would be playing Smiths or Morrissey and a lot. And so it was strange. That was probably like no other band that was equally approved by multiple siblings in my family. Like I don't think my other sister played the Smiths much, but my older sister and my brother, they loved the Smiths. And my oldest sister had all the Smiths. And whenever she would make me mixtapes as I was growing up, when I was like 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, they'd always have a Smiths track on each side. And my brother played the heck out of the Smiths. And he even did his hair like Morrissey for a few years. And he was just such a big Morrissey fan and the Smiths. And so when I hear the Smiths, it kind of reminds me of my childhood in so many ways, and I've really grown to respect and love Johnny Marr as he's gotten older and gone through his career and sport. Of course, his contribution with electronic as well, which I think is so underrated. Maybe I'll do a video on them and just. I think electronic kind of took over for New Order in some ways throughout their three albums and what New Order probably could have done. But Johnny Marr was just, he was just he's just an amazing guitar player and now I see him in the past like 10, 15 years like touring and doing shows and doing old Smith songs and then doing his new albums like his that's somebody that I need to buy more of their albums, Johnny Marr solo albums for sure. I don't have any Johnny Marr's solo albums, and I definitely need to get some and check some out. So that'll probably be my if there was anything that I was gonna anything in the Smiths and Morrissey kind of New Order extension that I don't know. I don't think I would check out the last 20 years of Morrissey records solo. I'm kind of like over Morrissey for the most part, but I would definitely check out Johnny Marr stuff for sure. And so, Meat is Murder was kind of the classic period for me, that and Queen is Dead. Of course, when Strange Ways, kind of came out, they were kind of splitting, and so you can kind of, even though I think it's a really strong album, it's you can hear it's kind of fractured and maybe they aren't really getting along and they aren't really doing some songs together. It seems like Johnny Marr's kind of taking over a couple songs and then Morrissey's kind of taking over a couple songs and you can kind of tell like it's like a fractured album. I mean, Meat is Murder is probably and Queen is Dead are probably the tightest. And I'm not saying those are my favorite albums. I really enjoy the compilations. Like it's funny, but Louder and Bombs and the other one was Rank, and then Hateful and Hollow. Like those albums, those compilations are where my Like if I could rate those would be in the 80s. But I don't think necessarily any Smiths album gets a really high score for me. It's really interesting because every Smiths album has a couple songs that I think are pretty good. You know what I mean? I don't think anything is like a four or anything like below that, but I mean everything's okay for sure. But on the very low side. But this is a good example. It's got a lot of good songs, and then it's got a couple ones that just kind of prevent it from going higher. And so almost every album so far of the three Smiths are very similar as far as the scoring. My favorite track on this album is "Well I Wonder." Man, it's such a great song. There's like one song like this in every Smiths album that just blows me away. Like "It's Over" on Queen is Dead. Just love that song. There's always like a ballad that I really like "Asleep" is one of my favorite all-time Smith songs. I love the melody and "Oscillating Wildly," which kind of has like a more of a melodic. Of course, "Boy with a Thorn in His Side" and "There's Light Will Never Go Out" is probably my favorite Smith songs. But there's a few like "Girl About" and or "Girl Afraid" and some early ones that I really like as well. That would probably round out my top five and top 10. But as far as like the ballads, like "It's Over" and "Well I Wonder" is just amazing. I gave "Well I Wonder" 8 3/4 stars, very close to 9 stars. Love the vocals in it, and some of the lyrics too. "Do you hear me when you sleep?" Oh man, just there's certain phrases that you say, that Morrissey does, and you're like, oh, you just kind of like flow into the rest of the lyrics of the song. Like um, just awesome. I love that song so much. And my second favorite song is "That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore." Just a classic track. It's got everything. It's got the kind of swan song ending and great fade out and just super smooth and very unique for alternative rock. You know what I mean? It's just I mean sometimes when the Smiths nail it, man, they nail it. "That Joke Isn't Funny Anymore." Classic of their material for sure. 8 1/4 stars. My third favorite is a tie between "Meat is Murder" and "The Headmaster's Ritual." And then I also got "Barbarism Begins at Home." All three of those with the 7.5 stars. So I also got "Nowhere Fast" at 7 stars. So five of the 9 songs. Actually, yeah, sorry, 6 of the 9 songs above 7 stars. So, a lot of very good stuff on here. Funny enough, "Barbarism Begins at Home" it has a great groove. Kind of goes on a little too long, but it's one of the only songs that from the Smiths that I would play in a dance club. Like it has it's a great dance song, great guitar riffs. There's not a lot of Smiths songs that have a lot of edge as far as like aggressiveness, if you know what I mean. So "Barbarism Begins at Home" is very unique in that retrospect, and I think it's a really good kind of driving dance song. But I think maybe the songs I like least, just to touch on those: "Rush Home," "Ruffians," and "What She Said," 5 3/4 stars, and then maybe "I Want the One I Can't Hold," 6 3/4 stars, almost to a seven. So 7 of the 9 songs are really averaging a seven. So when I add up the stars of the album, 64 3/4 divided by 9 is a 72. So it's right in line with "Queen is Dead," 72 out of 100. "Queen is Dead," 72 out of 100. "Strange Ways Here We Come," 70 out of 100. So just very consistent albums. But the interesting thing about the Smiths, if I could pull out like 2 or 3 tracks out of every album and take out three of my favorite like B-sides or extra songs that like they did of like "Louder Than Bombs" or "Hateful and Hollow" and kind of inject them in the album, they would be in the 80s and maybe even like high 80s. Like they would be fantastic albums. But every kind of Smith song of the main four albums, they just have a couple of like kind of ones that don't work. Just well, I wouldn't say they don't work. It's just not they're not on the upper level. There's these Smith songs that are like just iconic. You're just singing along, and you know what I mean. And there's just it's just an amazing balance of like the riffs and Mr. Rourke's great bass lines and of course Morrissey's great vocals. Like I love his vocals, like on the joke isn't funny more. Well, I wonder. I mean, just love him when he's doing the crooning and just the ad libbing of the without even saying words and just what I mean. A perfect example is the end of the light that never goes out, and the kind of ad libbing he does through the end of that fade. I mean, the beginning of that fade out is just amazing. When he does those riffs and stuff like that, it's just. I mean, I always kind of consider like Morrissey like the Frank Sinatra of synth pop or new wave or alternative rock. Like he's kind of like earned that kind of like iconic voice. Like there's not too many iconic voices of our generation, like my generation. He's got to be one. I mean, there's a lot of great voices, but nobody's like instantly recognizable and beloved as much as like Morrissey for his lyrics and his vocals and just being led by leading a great ensemble. What I mean, with going through a classic period of alternative rock and I mean, how many bands do you think the Smiths inspired? Talk about like Depeche Mode or The Cure or New Order inspiring. Like how many rock bands just in UK alone were inspired by the Smiths? I mean, the Smiths have to be like the number one most influential band of the '80s. Like for Britpop and indie rock. Like, I mean, just think about how many bands were influenced by the Smiths. It's just there's tons of them, tons of them. I mean, I would think like all those bands would cite the Smiths as a band they regularly listened to in the '80s. Like, I just can't even fathom how many bands they inspired. But yeah, really good album again, very good. But again, I just when I go to Smith's albums, I don't necessarily play their albums. I play Louder Than Bombs. I play Hateful and Hollow. I play Rank. I think if there's any album that I probably play is probably Bone of Drag over there. I really love Bone of Drag as far as like Morrissey solo albums, but that one has a lot of special memories with me. That was probably the height of my sort of. It's interesting when you grow up. My fandom with Morrissey because I bought that album. You know what I mean? Like every album before, like my brother had or my sister had, and they would record it on a tape for me, or I would take the record and record it onto a tape and stuff like that. But things are different, and that kind of showed me early on. There's a difference when you actually buy the music. Like it becomes more personal, and that's what kind of led me to always having that desire to own your music and even if I could record it as somebody else or somebody wanted to give it to me free or somebody wanted to send me a file, like I always still wanted to have the physical copy. In fact, there's an album I bought 2 days ago on Bandcamp. I'm waiting for the CD to come in the mail, and I was going to review it because I'm really anticipating reviewing this new album by this band that came out. It's actually being released tomorrow, so it should be coming in the mail tomorrow. And I have the files, and I was going to listen to them and do the review, but I still want to grab the CD and listen to the CD for the first time, and I want to hear it on my stereo. So that's part of the collecting music and but when I think of like the Smiths, kind of tying it back to the Smiths, like I always think of those mixtapes that my sister made and my brother made and I made, and those were always ones where I was picking my favorite songs off all the Smith songs at the time and the first couple Morrissey albums. They're like that was kind of my um my time. Like I was 13 in '89, so Suede Head came out in '88, so I was 12. And love Suede Head, love Ordinary, Break Up the Family, and of course Every Day Is Like Sunday. I mean that was such a big year for Morrissey to go solo. Just love that album. Love that time, love that sound. Disappointed. I mean, Last of the Famous International Playboys. So many great songs from like '88 to like '91, even '92 with Your Arsenal. But he was just, I mean, Morrissey was just those first couple solo years. It was like wow, there was a lot of catchy music in there. Interesting Drug, like William. It was really nothing. Like oh man, I'm not. It wasn't William. It was really nothing. It was it William? There's something another track with William. I thought I'm sorry or Anyways, so many great songs that Morrissey did when he first couple albums he went solo. So I just love that period. But whenever I like think of like my best, I don't think of Smiths like my favorite album. Like this album's my favorite. Like I think of like their whole catalog, but it's my best of what of their catalog, like collecting on a mixed cassette. Well, what that is, that would be the ultimate album. And so if there was a greatest hits that I really liked of theirs, which I do have a really nice double mix CD that has. It's one of my. It's the reason why I bought it is because it has it almost collects like louder than bombs and a little bit of hateful and hollow. It just kind of seems to have everything of the Smiths that I like, and probably for any like 2 disc set, it's got the most tracks that I like. So I bought that one. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 years ago or something like that. But I love that one. But yeah, I always think of like a greatest hits of the Smiths, and there's no particularly one album that I think and I don't think um, their first album, which I'm blanking on the name of for some reason right now. It's not Hateful and Hollow, is it? No, it's not Hateful and Hollow. That's the compilation. Um, God, why am I blanking on the title of the first album? It's just self-titled. Yeah. So that album, I don't think that album's going to be any higher than these two. They're all going to be consistent in the low 70s. I think they're all very good, but there's a couple tracks on each that don't quite get there and kind of bring the album down from being a classic in my opinion. I don't think there's really any classic album of the Smiths. I know people really push one because everybody loves the Smiths. Like uh, Queen is Dead is, oh, that's the best Smiths album. Let's really push that. Oh, it's in Rolling Stone Top 500. Like but there's some songs on Queen is Dead that, especially on the second side, that I don't think hold a candle to the first side. First side is just thorn, boy, the thorn in his side, night, a light that never goes out. Like I mean, it's just rattling off great track. The Queen is Dead is a great track. I mean, there's amazing tracks on that first side, and then the second side just kind of loses a little bit of momentum. I mean, kind of a lot of momentum actually, because I think those tracks are so high. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on the Smiths in general. But Me is Murder, 72 out of 100, very good album, very solid, very good. You know, big Smiths fan for sure. But yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts on Mita's Murder and what your scores are. And if there's something that you'd like me to review, just message me down below. My email's down below. Just send me a message. I would be interested to know what you would like me to review. Could be a song, could be an album, could be the past, could be the present, could be something released, could be something unreleased. All right, and thank you for your time, and we'll see you on the next video.
Electric Cafe.